Coming up on Hoosier Sports Night, Indiana men's soccer completed the Big Ten double. We'll give you the recap and what's in store for them in the NCAA tournament.
And volleyball had a weekend doubleheader. We'll give you the details as they head down the final stretch of their season. This is Hoosier Sports Night.
Hello and welcome to Hoosier Sports Night. I'm Jhett Garrett.
And I'm Victoria Rhemrev. Are you excited for Thanksgiving next week?
I have been looking forward to my grandmother's mac and cheese for a year now.
Mac and cheese is awesome. Indiana men's soccer won their 16th Big Ten tournament title with a 1-0 victory over Penn State. Our Josh Pose has the recap.
October 7th, a desperate Indiana squad got their first Big Ten victory in State College over Penn State. And just 36 days later, they were here at Bill Armstrong Stadium playing for their 16th Big Ten championship.
Gave us like the energy that we needed, not only in this game, but every game of the season. They've been super nice and super good for us.
In a sports equinox day at Indiana, the Hoosier Army and the Hoosier Faithful showed up in big numbers with attendance over 4,000 for the match between the Indiana Hoosiers and the Penn State Nittany Lions. Indiana and Penn State have a lot of history with one another, especially in the Big Ten Tournament Championship. Just 2 years ago, Penn State knocked off the Hoosiers in State College in a thriller in penalty kicks. Indiana had a lot of possession in the first half and multiple chances, but it wasn't until junior Sam Sarver found the back of the net and found his way over to where else but the Hoosier Army to celebrate his big goal.
What a turnout today. Biggest crowd in, 5 years, so the least you can do is run to them and thank them for coming, so yeah.
In the second half, Indiana fought off a lot of high-scoring opportunities for the Nittany Lions, leading them to their 16th Big Ten title. A celebration in which included the students, and head coach Todd Yeagley had no issue with it.
I love that. Real Big Ten may not liked it, but I loved it. Yeah, it was. I mean, to be a student here and to get to celebrate a Big Ten championship with your players is awesome, and
The Hoosiers will find out if they are a nationally seeded team tomorrow during the NCAA Tournament Selection Show. For IUSTV Sports, I'm Josh Pose.
The Hoosiers will host Lipscomb on the first round of the NCAA tournament Thursday night at Bill Armstrong Stadium at 6 p.m. Follow our Kira Adams, Griffin Healy, and Josh Pose for updates.
Coming off a closer than expected season opener, Indiana men's basketball welcomed Army to Assembly Hall on Veterans Day weekend. Our Josh Bodie has the recap.
Indiana beat Army 72-64, but it was another ugly game in Assembly Hall. The Hoosiers struggled against the mid-major for the second straight game, and offensive dysfunction is clear.
We got to trust each other. You know what I mean? We catch the ball, and the first thing we think about is putting the ball down on the floor, making a play for myself. And this is a team game, a team sport.
Everybody touches the ball, move the ball. We have a whole bunch of talent. I know it's hard to see right now, but we actually do have a lot of good talent. We got to share the ball, move the ball, get the ball up the floor and run. Because that's what the offense is supposed to do. We're supposed to get stops, and I think that's the main problem is we're not getting enough stops to get out and run.
Mike Whitson wants this team to get out in transition, but that just isn't happening right now. Indiana had only 4 fast break points against Army.
We can't just live in a half-court game this season. I mean, I want to play faster, and I got to get us to doing that because we're not doing it yet.
Another question mark, Mackenzie Mbaka. The 5-star freshman only logged 16 minutes.
He's got to play harder and do the things that we want done on both ends of the floor, and that might keep him in the game.
Part of the problem right now, work effort and practice.
I mean, I'm gonna be honest. In practice, we got young guys, including myself. I'm not young, but including me, Gallo, and just the whole team. We're not going as hard. I think our preparation led to that.
From Assembly Hall, I'm Josh Bodie, IUSTV Sports.
Indiana has one more game against a mid-major on Thursday against Wright State before they take on the defending champion UConn Huskies at Madison Square Garden on Sunday.
Now shifting to the women's side of things, the Indiana women's basketball team has 2 games under their belt thus far. Each game looked very different for Terry Morin and company. Last Thursday, the Hoosiers tipped off with an emphatic 96-43 victory over Eastern Illinois. Every Hoosier on the roster made an appearance on the floor, including Lexis Burgesser, who had a career-high 15 points and 2 buzzer beaters. However, Indiana followed that game up with a 96-64 loss against Stanford on the road. Terry Morin and her squad are looking to put this one behind them and focus on what's ahead as they make their way back to Assembly Hall.
Mac will be better. She's disappointed just like Sid is, just like we all are. We are not happy, in that locker room in terms of the display today. But we got to learn from it, and we got to move on.
The Indiana women's soccer team traveled to St. Louis to take on the Billikens in the first round of the NCAA tournament. In their first tournament appearance since 2013, the Hoosiers lost 2-0. Our Sam Brunsman has more.
Heartbreaking. An historical season for the Indiana women's soccer team comes to an end in St. Louis. In their first NCAA tournament appearance since 2013, the Hoosiers fell 2-0 to the St. Louis Billikens. A slow start to the first half led to 2 St. Louis set-piece goals. Indiana had their fair share of chances in the second half, but none to show on the scoreboard.
Yeah, the first one didn't fall. I think we were a little poor in the final third, but again, I think we should have had maybe a penalty here and there, but it is what it is. They scored twice, we didn't score, but I think coming back from a 2-0 and being a dominant team and create that many good opportunities, I think we can be proud of that part. So,
the Hoosiers saw many changes this year compared to years past, finishing with a 12-2-4 record and a 6-2-2 record in conference play, and also an NCAA tournament berth.
And this year, I thought we made huge strides. So many good wins, so many good results. Even in this game against the top 20 team, I thought for moments we were the better team, and I think we have a lot of upside, a lot of growth to do, a lot of work to do in the off-season, but I think we can get there. I'm so excited about the group we have with the incoming freshmen, and then again, the seniors left us in an unbelievable place.
The seniors for the Hoosiers left their mark and have paved the way for future years. For IUSTV Sports, I am Sam Brunsman.
On the year, Indiana finished with a 12-4-4 record and totaled 31 goals. The future looks bright for the Hoosiers as they head into the offseason.
Coming up after the break, we'll crown this week's Hoosier Highlight Athlete of the Week.
And wrestling had their first home meet of the season. We'll tell you how the Hoosiers fared on the mat. This is Hoosier Sports Night.
Welcome back to Hoosier Sports Night.
Joining us in studio for this week's Hoosier Highlight is IUSTV sports reporter Sam Sender. Sam?
Thanks, guys. For our Hoosier Highlight of the Week, we zoom in on Roman Rogotsky and the Indiana wrestling team. The team got off to a strong start this past Friday against Ryder, winning that matchup 27-15. However, things did not look promising as IU trailed 15-7 early. In the most critical point of the dual meet, Rogotsky trailed Ryder's Isaac Dean. However, he turned the match on its head when he caught Dean in a Peterson and locked it up tight for the pin late in the third period. The transfer from South Dakota State currently leads IU with 4 pins and is coming off a third-place finish in the battle at the Citadel. We can expect a lot from Rogotsky down the stretch as he performs what he calls ballet with violence. That's all for this week's Hoosier Highlight of the Week. Back to you at the desk.
The Indiana football team became ineligible for postseason play after falling in overtime to Illinois. Our Joe Cronin has more.
Indiana falls to 3-7 on the season after a heartbreaking 48-45 loss to Illinois.
Just really disappointing in our defense. Just poor performance today. Not even close to being good enough. And just a tough way to lose. Proud of our offense. Did a lot of great things.
Yeah, just no talking, just getting ready. I don't know, it's not really, just no talking.
The no talking refers to the locker room post-game as backup quarterback John Paddock exposed the Indiana secondary, utilizing his receivers Isaiah Williams and Pat Bryant en route to a 500-yard performance through the air.
I mean, it was a lot of Indiana beating Indiana, honestly, just breakdowns and, busted coverages.
A couple times it's poor communication. One time apparently one of our guys got the wrong signal, which shouldn't happen in week 10, you know. So to me, that's just an excuse.
A bowl game is out of the question for Indiana. However, there are 2 trophy games to close out the season. Brendan Sorsby and company may be able to end the season on a high note.
I feel like he's just stepped up as a leader and like a dog, really. He's just, you can see him just taking those steps like forward every single weekend.
It seems Sorsby has found his wide receiver one as Sorsby and McCauley connected for over 100 yards and 2 scores on the day, while Sorsby added a pair on the ground with some hard running that helped the Hoosiers stay in the game. Indiana will return home next week as it's a battle of the bottom of the barrel in the Big Ten, as it's Indiana versus Michigan State. For IUSTV Sports and from Champaign, Illinois, I'm Joe Cronin.
The Hoosiers will be back for their final home game of the season as they look to keep the old brass spittoon for back-to-back years as the Michigan State Spartans travel to Bloomington.
Following a 3-set sweep over Rutgers on Friday, Indiana volleyball returned to Wilkinson Hall Sunday to battle a close one against Minnesota. Our Zeke Shapiro has the recap.
Indiana women's volleyball dropped a 5-set thriller against the Minnesota Golden Gophers on Sunday. The Hoosiers had last defeated Minnesota in 2014 and had come into this match without a set victory since 2015. The Hoosiers started off strong and easily won the first set, but a 62-point second set that went to the Minnesota Gophers evened the score.
I think it definitely took a toll on us a little bit, but we train pretty hard, pretty long, so it shouldn't be too bad.
Indiana controlled the third set, but let the Gophers off the hook with some mistakes in the fourth set before Minnesota closed out the Hoosiers in the fifth.
Again, lost by 7 points here. It's a game of inches, and we just need to be able to close. So as disappointed as I am that we didn't, I still think it's great that we're in those positions, and I think you learn a lot in those. You got to go through that stuff in order to get through it and get to the other side. So
the Hoosiers have struggled recently in close matches, as 3 of their last 4 defeats have come in 5 sets.
The 5-setters are always just heartbreakers, and we had a good plan going into it, and I think that just the 5th set really got us.
The Hoosiers will host Maryland this Friday and number 3 ranked Wisconsin this Sunday to close out their home schedule for the season.
With almost a week off, Indiana has their sights set on another 2-game weekend with Maryland on Friday, following by number 3 Wisconsin on Sunday. Follow along with IUSTV Sports for updates.
The Indiana cross-country team wrapped up their season this past weekend at the NCAA Great Lakes Regional Meet in Madison, Wisconsin, earning 7th overall for the men and 10th overall for the women. The men's team finished with 6 personal records, including Austin Hackett, who led the squad in 30th with a time of 30 minutes and 26 seconds. Not far behind was Skylar Stidham and Abe Ekman, who placed 39th and 40th, just 0.1 second apart. They each achieved personal bests. The women's team also saw strong finishes. Senior Phoebe Bates finished in 55th with a time of 21 minutes and 32 seconds, trailed by Mariah Worley not far behind in 62nd. The team will not be advancing to the championship this weekend, but ended their season on a high note.
The wrestling team was back in action last Friday, but not in their typical home of Wilkinson Hall. Our Quincy Cofield has the recap of the Hoosiers' first dual meet of the season from Assembly Hall.
It's once again wrestling season, and the Hoosiers are ready to start their home opener with a bang in Assembly Hall. Taking on the Ryder Bronx, head coach Angel Escobedo put an emphasis on the front headlock coming into tonight's meet.
Yeah, I thought that, the good thing we were getting there again, we didn't score enough. So that's the thing we still got to continue to improve. Gilcher was there a lot. Roman was there a lot. So they're in that front headlock up on their feet. We got to pull them down. We got to score. That's an advantage situation. I think we were using it too much like for a stalemate instead of a score.
Facing Ryder in Assembly Hall, the Hoosiers weren't looking good going down 8 points. However, heading into the 165-pound weight class, the Hoosiers would battle back thanks to help from leaders of DJ Washington and Gabe Solers. Despite the Bronx trying to ride the Hoosiers out of the arena, senior Derek Glincher wasn't having it. Staring at a 15-7 deficit, the 165-pounder would light the spark for IU with a 7-2 victory. DJ Washington would follow by dominating his opponent, scoring a tech fall victory. Crucial pinfall victories by Roman Rogotsky and Gabe Solers would seal the deal for a 27-15 IU Hoosiers victory.
Yeah, both those guys, they won tonight. They came up big. You know, Dan got a major, and then Roman got the pin. That kind of sparked us to win the dual meet. You want that to happen.
The Hoosiers now prepare for the Keystone Classic tournament in Philadelphia. As they buckle down to face tougher opponents, I am Quincy Cofield for IUSTV.
And after the Keystone Classic, Indiana will travel to New Jersey to battle Princeton on December 3rd.
Indiana women's tennis traveled to Jacksonville, Florida last weekend to compete in the UNF Fall Invitational. In the final competition of the fall season, 3 freshman players won multiple singles matches during the tournament. One freshman, Elizabeth Dunnick, especially showed off by winning all of her 3 matches in the singles bracket. The doubles matches were also a big highlight of the weekend, with all 3 Hoosier pairs going 2-1 in their matches. The women's tennis team will return to action after the new year for their spring season.
Joining us now in studio with the Candy Stripe Calendar Report is IUSTV sports reporter Joe Elms. Joe?
Thanks, Victoria. It's a jam-packed weekend for Hoosier athletics. On Friday, women's volleyball takes on Maryland and women's basketball hosts Murray State at Assembly Hall. The action continues on Saturday, where men's swimming wraps up the Ohio State Invitational and the football team takes on Michigan State in the battle for the Old Brass Spittoon. On Sunday, women's basketball takes on Lipscomb. Wrestling participates in the Keystone Classic. Women's volleyball welcomes number 3 Wisconsin to town. And men's basketball takes on number 5 UConn at Madison Square Garden in New York City. That's all for this weekend in Hoosier Sports. Back to you guys.
And that's our show for the week. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Be sure to follow us on Instagram and Twitter at IUSTV Sports to keep up with all the latest in IU athletics. For our production crew behind us, I'm Jhett Garrett.
And I'm Victoria Rhemrev. We'll see you next week.